My name is Mr. Cadella, and today I'm going to show you how to do a Gyotaku or a Gyotaku print. It's pronounced several different ways. Here is the fish I'm going to be printing today, and you see I've already actually printed it once here. And Gyotaku or Gyotaku just basically means fish print. It comes from Japan. Now, the first thing we want to do is make sure that we're working on scrap paper. So I'll get my scrap paper out here. I'll go ahead and get my fish. Now you could use foam brushes, you could use foam rollers, or you could just use regular brushes. I got some paint here. The first thing I want to do is make sure that I cover the entire surface of the fish with paint. And for some fish, like the smaller ones, it may not be that hard to do. For some of them, it might be a little bit more difficult because you have to get into the cracks and crevices here. And some of them, it's just simply because they're so large. We need to make sure we get all the fish covered in paint. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll grab my brush here. And I just put a light coat of paint. I don't want big puddles of paint or anything like that. And now notice, there are some parts that don't get paint in it, and that's perfectly fine. What we're trying to capture is the texture of the fish. Just like this. Make sure I get around this edge here. Again, you don't want to have huge puddles of paint anywhere or big globs. You do want to make sure all of it is covered though. There we go. Now the next step is very important. I don't want to take my new piece of paper and put it directly over this fish, because if I did, I would get all this paint that's on the scrap paper around it. So what I want to do, make sure I carefully pick up this fish and move it to a new piece of scrap paper. Just like that. There we go. Now I can take my new piece of paper, put it over the top. Now you can move your fish around up into the corner, down around here, or if you even wanted to, I guess you could even have some of it on there, not all of it. Like maybe it's swimming onto the paper there, but for the case of this example, I'm going to go ahead and put it right in the middle. Now I have to carefully lay the paper over the top, and now this is probably the most important step, is I'm going to make sure that I rub down the paper and to get all that texture out. Make sure it transfers to the paper. I'm going to make sure that I get around the edges here. Make sure I get all the fins. Pressing down, notice I'm using the tips of my fingers. Make sure I get an impression of all those details, all those wonderful details and textures that are on the fish, the scales, everything else. There you go. Just one more time there. I don't want to move the paper around a whole lot while I'm doing this too, or that'll blur the image. There we go. When I have all those textures down, I'm just going to go ahead and peel the paper up. And there is my print.